The hurricanes leave, but the betrayal remains. Every time a major storm hits, Jamaica suffers the same fate. Days, even weeks, of paralyzing blackout. We are not asking if the power will go out, but why the grid we pay for collapses instantly, while islands next door recover in hours. We expose the unaccountable system that leaves us in the dark, and we ask the critical question: who is truly profiting from Jamaica's broken power grid? We often focus on the immediate terror of the storm, the wind, the rain, the devastation. But the true story of Jamaica's vulnerability is written in the aftermath. It's written in the darkness that settles over our cities for days, even weeks, after the hurricane passes. Every time a major storm hits, Jamaica suffers the same fate: a systemic, instantaneous collapse of the national power grid. We are not asking if the power will go out. This is not a weather problem. This is the energy betrayal. Today, we go beyond the flood reports. We expose the unaccountable system that leaves us in the dark, and we ask the critical question: who is truly profiting from Jamaica's broken power grid, and who will finally be held accountable? The initial impact of a hurricane is immediate: no water, no communication, spoiled food. But the root cause is the same: the fragility of our pre-existing power infrastructure. The problem isn't just the wind, it's what the wind hits. We still rely heavily on exposed overhead transmission lines and transformers that are decades old. Unlike many of our regional counterparts who have invested in undergrounding lines or hardened infrastructure, Jamaica relies on a system that is designed to fail. The reality is that the cost of restoring power after every storm, the constant repair, the repeated replacement of downed poles, far outweighs the cost of a long-term modernization plan. So, why hasn't that plan been fully implemented? The public feels a bitter truth. The promise of reliable, modern power has been repeatedly broken. The blame game immediately begins after a storm, usually pointing a finger at JPS. But the problem is deeper than one company. It involves the complex relationship between the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, government agencies, and the regulatory bodies meant to hold them accountable. Who holds the wrench? Who greenlights the necessary capital investment? The core issue is the bottleneck of bureaucracy and the lack of aggressive regulatory enforcement. Citizens express frustration over prolonged outages, but the slow pace of recovery points to systemic hurdles: securing imported equipment, coordinating work permits, and clearing the right-of-way, all of which require regulatory efficiency that simply seems to vanish in a crisis. The question isn't whether JPS workers are trying to restore power. It's whether the system they operate under allows for a world-class recovery time. Comparative analysis shows that other hurricane-prone nations bounce back faster. What are they doing that we are failing to enforce? The power grid failure is not just an inconvenience, it's an economic catastrophe that leaves long-term scars. Tourism. Weeks of power cuts cripple our single biggest revenue earner, damaging our international reputation for reliability. Small businesses. Small businesses, which lack the capital for industrial generators, suffer massive inventory losses, leading to layoffs and permanent closures. Agriculture. Farmers, already hit by flooding, lose crops that require cold storage, devastating local food security. The cost of this repeated systemic failure is not just measured in lost JPS revenue, but in lost national GDP. This economic fallout highlights the true price of the energy betrayal, a price paid by every citizen through higher stress, anxiety, and the stagnation of national progress. We must demand an end to the reactive cycle of repair and repetition. The solution is clear, and it requires a political and financial commitment that transcends short-term cycles. We must press for immediate, significant investment in grid modernization, including targeted undergrounding in critical areas, and accelerated adoption of decentralized, renewable energy integration. The final question must be directed at the regulatory bodies. What are the new mandatory performance benchmarks? Who will sign the document guaranteeing that the next Category 5 storm will not lead to a multi-week blackout? The Jamaican people are resilient, but resilience is not an excuse for poor infrastructure. The true legacy of this hurricane must be a decisive end to the energy betrayal. The time for apologies is over. We demand accountability. We demand a resilient Jamaica,